Hello and welcome to 2018 and welcome back to the Hockey Shed, brought to you by Galvanised Hockey. We hope you had a fantastic Christmas and a brilliant New Year and are now getting fully back into the swing of all things hockey. Now, speaking of all things hockey, we do have a veritable expert alongside me today. I'd like to welcome Andy Halliday, Great Britain and England men's team manager. Welcome to the shed.
Good evening, thank you. It's good to be here.
Now, I've done you a disservice there by not giving you your full title. There's a bit more to you than that, isn't there?
I do, yeah. I'm a bit of a hockey badger, I guess, in many ways. In that I've had my role with England and GB as team manager with the men. Head coach for the men and women indoor. Ambassador for Hockey for Heroes, which is something I sort of believe in quite passionately. Involved with a legacy project in the East End called the Free Flyers. Supporter of access sport and disability hockey. So yeah, lots going on. And fundraiser, I guess. I'm a fundraiser. I like to think I invented extreme hockey dribbling. I'm not sure it's a sport in itself, but I think I started it off anyway. Started raising money by dribbling hockey balls up mountains.
And tell us about those. Where have you been? Which mountains have you been on?
Well, it started actually in 2012. Jason Lee, who was the then men's coach, and I dribbled the London Marathon, raising money for Well Child, the England hockey sort of nominated charity at the time. Having done that, I think there was this sort of rather perverse feeling that I had to do more. So with John Bleeby in 2014, agreed to dribble the Three Peaks.
I remember this one.
Which was, well, I think about it now as total madness. I mean, so dribbled a hockey ball up Ben Nevis. We lost 6 on the way down on Ben Nevis. We were getting quite worried, coming down off the peak there, running out of balls. And then down to Snowdon. Sorry, no, we ended up on Snowdon, but Lake District first and up Scafell Pike. And I think we did it in about just under 18 hours in total dribbling. Raised £7,000 for charity, so cracking, really good. And then last year, with Hockey for Heroes, raising money for Hockey for Heroes, dribbled 200 miles from Cardiff to London, supporting a thing called Operation Stretcher, which was all about carrying a former Royal Marine on a stretcher from Cardiff to London, stopping off 10 days, stopping off, playing 3 games of hockey a day. I dribbled a ball all the way. I didn't play any hockey, I just supported the group. And we're now plotting what we're going to do next.
I was going to ask what was next. So.
I've got a few thoughts.
So is up and down preferable to flat? Is there a...
Do you know, up is preferable. Down is actually really difficult because you've got to come backwards.
Are you not just tempted just to kind of 5-iron it off the top and then collect it? Or is that technically not within the realms of the dribble?
I think I sort of made up my own rules with this. So I said, I will not pick the ball up. So that was that was always the plan. Don't pick the ball up. And I don't think I ever have. I think I can be proud of that. But with thinking, I've got this idea about dribbling up to Everest Base Camp, but I'm not sure whether that's going to be achievable.
Okay.
I'm a bit old for it as well. So, but if anybody's watching who wants to take over the mantle of the extreme hockey dribbling charity challenges, please let me know.
But not before that one. I want to see how you navigate the snow. I'm intrigued. So let's talk about your team manager role.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of people have got a grasp of sort of the coach's role within the squads and what they do. Obviously, a lot of the work that you do kind of goes on behind the scenes. So a day to day, what would you do of a general day in the life of Andy Halliday?
So it's mainly logistics, but also beyond that, I will run the substitutions on the bench. So I will be with either Bobby Crutchley or Russell Garcia on the bench. You'll see me with an iPad, and I'll be running the substitutions. And I could do 60 in a game. So there's a lot of rotations. So there's that. My support of the squad, just generally being perceptive around people and talking to people and developing relationships with technical officials and umpires and it's really sort of, I guess it's all the logistics off the pitch. So anything away from the tactical side I'm responsible for. So, the recent trip to India, which was tough. We had quite a bit of illness in the camp.
Yeah.
And I'm working behind the scenes to try and sort out, make sure the food is okay, and talk to people in the hotel, and developing and working relationships away from the hockey pitch. So that's part of it, and planning for trips. So currently we're planning to go to the Sultan Azlan Shah Trophy in Malaysia in February, planning for the Commonwealth Games in April. So there's a lot that sort of goes on behind the scenes, and actually on the trips, I'm pretty busy. It's not just purely logistics. I'm involved in a lot of the sort of psychological development of the group, and how we build ourselves as a team moving forward. But one of my real strong memories was the World Cup in Delhi in 2010, where there was actually a terrorist threat to the team and to the event, which was quite tough, because we were at holding camp in Doha, looking to go out to Delhi for the competition, and this and of course the internet, so one threat became 15 threats, but it was the same threat because people were reading it on different internet sites, and of course you are naturally worried. Now, thankfully, we had quite a rigid process that looked at this intelligence, working with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and it wasn't credible. But I was obviously working hard behind the scenes with my previous career as a police officer for 30 years, so my knowledge of that sort of subject was fairly good. We desperately needed a bit of humour to cut the ice, as you can imagine. And we went to the event, and I was pretty proud of the way that we dealt with that whole situation. But beating Australia in the first game, backs against the wall, winning 3-2. James Fair, I remember saving numerous corners. What a great sort of recipe that is for any angst in the squad. So that was good. But then following that, again, you bring in the humour. It was quite funny. There was a chap called Mr. Ram, who I remember, who came and sold the lads. They came and got measured for suits in Delhi, which you do. I remember Richard Alexander particularly was keen to buy 2 or 3 suits, Ratman, and but of course the lads had no rupees, so we had to go out into the streets of Delhi, and with the security threat, the problems around that time, because I think they wanted to disrupt the World Cup ahead of the Commonwealth Games in Delhi. So we ended up with armoured vehicles either side, us in a bus, being taken to a cash point in the middle of Delhi where these buses stopped. The lads got out, and I think Rob Moore, was the first one to take a few rupees out of the cash point. By the time Richard Alexander put his card in, the money had run out. So we had to go to another street, which they cleared with police, with bamboo sticks, and it was just the most surreal experience. And I have strong memories of that, and look back on it with a fair deal of humour. And as far as I know, Ratman's still wearing that suit to teach at Merchant Taylors. You'll have to get him on here.
You preempted my next question beautifully there. Was did he get his suit in the end? Should we talk indoor?
Yes.
You're a big advocate of the indoor game.
I love it. I've loved it for years. I played for many years for St Albans, 8 titles we won in the 80s, 90s. I just got a real buzz from the indoor game playing, and I find it's difficult. It's a shame where I think indoor has gone in this country. Give you an example. So trying to arrange training for the senior international squads a couple of years ago, and struggling to find a venue that had boards and goals. And years and years ago, all these sports centres everywhere played indoor hockey, but I found it difficult seeing the demise, if you like, of facilities and the infrastructure that we used to have, but still love the game. And of course, Copper Box finals coming up, brilliant.
Yes, that's the Jaffa Super Sixes, which is this weekend. Exciting times for that one. Any kind of predictions or picks for that?
Well, interesting. I think I wonder whether we might stick my neck out and have the same club winning men's and women's this year. East Grinstead, they've strengthened women's competition. I mean, Kate Richardson-Walsh,
Yeah.
What signings!
They're not shabby people to bring into the squad, are they?
I went up and watched the ladies' National League up at Telford, and funnily enough, I watched the only game they lost over the weekend, or over the league, the whole of the 2 weekends against Leicester. But still, looking at Kate and her picking her passes, Helen's anticipation and her reading of the game and knowing what's going to happen next is you sort of look at her and think, how does she do that? So look, they're strong.
Are there some players that, I mean, obviously, you're talking about qualities of the Richardson Walshes there, which are well known to anyone who's even remotely a hockey fan. But are there players who perhaps whose skill set doesn't transition to indoor quite so well?
I mean, it's in the sort of days gone by, they always used to talk about the indoor specialist, and I guess I might have been one myself, and I had more success indoors than outdoors. But I don't think that happens so much now because we don't have as much indoor hockey. But there are people whose specific skills that they have are sort of more conducive to being good in indoor. Trying to think of examples of who might be playing this weekend. That there are people within the sort of the indoor fraternity, if you like, some players who year in year out have always performed at a particularly high level. Ashley Jackson, I mean, I know Ashley is a fantastic outdoor player, but again, his awareness on an indoor court, which funnily enough comes from starting in ice hockey, and it's not dissimilar when you look. It's a smaller court. Look at the tactics, the man-to-man or the zoning, and the way that the game pans out with the ball, his ability again to pick a pass. So I mean, Ashley will always be a very, very good indoor player because of the way that he's been brought up in ice hockey, and obviously he's had a break and gone and played more ice hockey, but it's great to see him back playing. I think he could be the difference for East Grinstead on Sunday this weekend coming. I just think that his ability to open a game up. But other teams, Wimbledon in the men's competition, Wimbledon, prolific goal scorer in Ed Haller. If they can keep him quiet. James Bailey, goalkeepers, so vital in indoor hockey. James Bailey for Wimbledon. I mean, I watched Wimbledon play Bath in the league competition. And of course, funnily enough, they're playing each other at the weekend. Bath couldn't beat James Bailey. They just couldn't get the ball past James Bailey. I think it'll be. I think Bath did very well in the league, but then just managed to qualify for the last 4. They had a fantastic start to the competition because they prepared properly. A lot of these other teams stopped outdoor. Some of them didn't even have indoor sessions. They just turned up and played, and that again it's a shame that we've got to that point with indoor hockey.
One of the things I was going to ask you, I mean, I remember going to Crystal Palace many years ago, and that was quite an outing, and it was a rowdy old venue for the indoor, and there was often balls flying over the goals, and you trying not to spill your beer and get your head hit at the same time, and but back in those days, and it's kind of similar days. There's often club sides in there that aren't necessarily clubs that are playing in the Premier League or the top flight. So there's clubs that obviously have a good background in indoor, a good ethos for indoor. So how does that happen? How do you get these clubs? Obviously St Albans probably a case in point. I think Sevenoaks previously have been competing at those sort of levels. Where does that come from?
I think it comes from a willingness to learn the game. So certainly at St Albans every year we would go to Germany for a week in November to prepare for the indoor season. We go to the Performance Centre in Cologne, play some games against German league clubs. Others that take it, so East Grinstead, for example, they've been up there for years and years and years, and Richard Organ, of course, has played a massive part in maintaining that focus on indoor hockey. I think it's all about recognising that you go indoors for a couple of weeks before the league starts and start training, not just turning up. So there are clubs around who are really, really keen on indoor hockey, and they train, and they pick up the tactical side of things. They develop the technical skills, and we've seen, you know, that sort of success. Bath have done it this year in the men's game. There are other clubs within the women's setup. You know, Bowden Hightown have been fantastic over the years. Slough have been fantastic over the years because they take the indoor game quite seriously. So, you know, it's good to see that. It's just a shame that our infrastructure to support the game is not you know, as it should be. Very interesting what's happening in other countries. So last 2 weeks I coached the men in the European indoor in Turkey and the women in Brussels last weekend, and they have got this initiative in Turkey where they've got about 150,000 kids playing indoor hockey. No outdoors, playing indoors. So they've got ready-made basketball courts, handball courts over there. They get their version of a quick sticks kit, and the kids are actually playing indoor, and it's proper six-a-side, learning the tactics, you know, with the boards and the goals, and so expect to see Turkey really improve, and that's interesting. So it's interesting. So a lot of these lesser nations are playing much more indoor hockey. Belgium last weekend, so they don't have the infrastructure. They're similar to us. They don't have handball courts, don't necessarily have the infrastructure that we have. But what they've done is that at the Royal Uckle Club, where the competition was played, they've put an indoor hockey court in a marquee. Now this is not like one of the massive tents, rather like they've got at Mannheim for outdoors. This is just, it looks like it's one of these wedding marquees that they just put up over some tennis courts. Laid a blue sort of Lego type floor, and they play the National League on it. So every time I walked past there over the weekend, the kids were on there. I mean, it was horrible outside, 2 degrees, sleeting sideways. But so they've, without their infrastructure, have managed to make indoor hockey popular.
Do you think perhaps an issue might be that you know, some people just see indoor as a supplementary to your outdoor core skills, rather than actually being a discipline in its own right?
Yeah.
To be, you know, exploited.
I think you're right. So I do think that. I think for some people an indoor. So, I mean, there are a lot of players that don't play any indoor hockey and don't want to. You know, they. I think the first thing we would need to look at as a nation is our outdoor leagues. So the 7th, 8th of January, an example being the East Premier Outdoor League. They're playing fixtures on the 7th, 8th of January, when the National League indoor is its, you know, second weekend. So I think, you know, the first thing they around infrastructure would be if people want to really play indoor hockey and take it seriously, you've got to look at the season, the outdoor season, and close down, which many of the Eastern European countries and now the places like Belgium and Germany, December, January, indoor hockey, no outdoor hockey. But would we want that as a nation? Would as a hockey nation, would our players be happy to take a 2-month break for indoor, and they wouldn't have outdoor games to play during that period? And I don't know the answer. I really don't.
Before we move on,
yeah,
you've brought a little memento from Brussels back with you. We should probably have a look at this.
So development. A real development opportunity for our young international players. Took a very young team, average age of 20, out to Turkey, where sadly we were relegated, but very little preparation ahead of that event. But the boys did really well. The women this weekend surpassed themselves, and I know it was the second string, if you like, of the European Championship, but they won bronze. Average age 21.
Brilliant.
One preparation session at Canterbury and a warm-up game with Canterbury. They just got better and better as the weekend went on. They came away better athletes, better people. Fantastic experience for them, and you know, I think they're you know, getting bronze in that competition was pretty good. Really proud for them. They were a great group, and as I say,
Yeah,
really embraced the indoor game and just got better and better.
I've spotted by your floor that you were kind enough to
Do you know,
bring a little something along for us.
I thought if you come into the hockey shed, you should really, everybody that comes in here should bring a shirt. So, probably one of the greatest years for hockey, 2012. Girls won bronze at the Olympics. We were fourth. Those halcyon days of the Riverbank Arena.
I love that place. I love the atmosphere in there.
Such a shame. It's there's nothing there. It's just you stand there, and I get quite emotional, sort of standing in that location and remembering it was just the most incredible.
I think some of the atmospheres in those games are the men's game against Argentina, that opening match was just
brilliant.
After there's quite a bit of media hype, understandably, before that game, but the atmosphere in there was just incredible.
It was a fantastic couple of weeks. Although there's still this sort of slightly ghostly orange pall that just that 9-2 defeat to Holland in the semi-final. I think.
Yeah, let's just brush that
yes,
under the carpet.
We will. But anyway, look, I thought I'd bring.
That's really and this is the one that's got the special slimming stripes, so I can wear
it. Yes, it has. I think they were specially designed, I think, for the event. So I thought my visit.
That's brilliant. We will hang it up with pride.
Excellent.
In the shed. Thank you so much.
Probably needs a bit of an iron. So my apologies for that.
Well, Andy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Andy actually genuinely defied the odds to get here today, so we're really grateful you spared us the time.
I've got the oil off my hands, puncture at Beaconsfield Services, and yeah.
Brilliant. No, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you again for watching. It's been an exciting Christmas period. We're glad to get back into it, and in a week when Wimbledon Hockey Club's Cherry Seabourn has got engaged to a certain Ed Sheeran, it's quite a celebration all round. So if you're out this weekend playing or watching the Super Sixes, we hope it's perfect. We'll see you next time on the Hockey Shed.